Good evening, my dear students. Long time no see. Today we will be, going ahead and studying or starting the module three. I'll be, as everyone is doing, even I'm going ahead with work from home. So we will be learning through this e-learning platform. I've prepared a presentation for module 3. Today we will see some of the concepts. Module 3 is all about embedded system components, and this is the syllabus of the module 3. Some of the contents we have already gone ahead with: embedded system versus general computing system, classification of embedded, major application purpose, and the components, that is core processors, and some of the components like sensors and various other components are covered in this syllabus. We will see one by one each component. Previously, that is previous to going through this break of coronavirus, we have gone ahead and finished some part of module 3. If you could recall, we've already completed embedded versus general computing systems. I hope you remember we have covered 8 difference points between the embedded and general computing system. We have also covered classification of embedded system. There were two different types of classification. One was based on the generation. We have seen the generation, first generation embedded system, second, third, and fourth generation embedded system. All these, basically the generation classification was based on the processor technology advancement and microcontroller technology advancement. And the second classification was based on the performance and the complexity. So we have seen the small scale, medium size, and large scale embedded system. We've also jotted down some of the major applications and the purpose of embedded system. So we've gone ahead and seen in detail what all are the purpose of embedded system: data collection, storage, representation, data communication, signal processing, controlling, and application specific user interface. These were the purpose. We have seen detail of all, each and every point. Coming ahead with the major part, that is embedded system components. So we have begun with the core of an embedded system. Any system for that matter, any electronic system for that matter, the core of any system would be a processing unit. So there are various different types of processing unit. I hope you remember that I have given you an homework wherein I told you to study the embedded system core, such as microprocessor, microcontroller, and digital signal processor. Why did I give you this as a homework? Because you have covered these points as an individual subjects in your 4th sem and 5th sem. So you already know the basics of microprocessor, microcontroller, and digital signal processor. So I will not waste much of time in going ahead, but students, you have to study this. This is the part of syllabus, so you have to study this as an homework. Let us begin with the few more core of an embedded system. Let me begin with one of the major core currently being used is ASIC, that is application specific integrated circuit. Application specific integrated circuit basically is a microchip that is designed to perform either a specific or an unique application. It is a single chip which consists of several, or which is performing several functions. ASIC basically is a custom design, and we have this. These are the proprietary products. Because the various functions are embedded into a single chip, so obviously this is going to consume less development area. As you can see that a single chip will consume a less development area, and overall this reduces the total system area. Total system area gets reduced. Total system embedded system area gets reduced because of a use of an ASIC. And also the cost gets affected, the cost is also reduced. But the major disadvantage of ASIC is the one-time investment that is required, because the fabrication of ASIC requires a non-refundable initial investment, which in technical terms we call that as a non-recurring engineering charge, or NRE. So NRE is an additional cost that is needed for the fabrication of ASIC. So that's the major disadvantage. So ASIC becomes profitable only when there is a large volume in terms of commercial production. So whenever we have a large volume in terms of commercial production, ASIC is profitable. Or else, in case if there is a requirement of a specific application, there we can use ASICs. Next, we will see another core element, that is programmable logic devices, or also known as PLDs. As you all know that logic devices are a trend these days. Logic devices are used for various functions like device to device interfacing, data communication. It's also being used in signal processing, data display, and timing and control operations. So various functions are being performed using logical devices. So these logical devices can be categorized as a fixed and a programmable device. Fixed device is the one wherein the designer or the manufacturer has designed this logical device for a certain function, and this cannot be changed. So we cannot change the design or the function for which this logical device has been implemented. Whereas the programmable kind, or the programmable categorization, which we are seeing right now, programmable logical device, can be reconfigured. The same chip can be reconfigured to perform various functions. Now, how do we do it? How do we reconfigure or reprogram? So here the programmable memory are used, and apart from that, there are lots of inexpensive software tools that are used to develop, to simulate and test the design of PLDs. Now that PLDs are the one which can be reconfigured, or we can perform various operations using the same chip, using the same chip by reconfiguring it to do different types of functions. Let us see some of the advantage. Obviously, since it's reprogrammable, there is no NRE, that is non-recurring engineering charges. And another major advantage of PLD is that it can be modified in any stage of design. Like it can be modified in the initial stage, as well as the stages where it's already been at various stages of design and development. PLDs can be modified. So that's the another advantage what we have for PLDs. Now let's see what are the different types of PLDs that we have. The different types of PLDs that we have, there are various types, but we will go ahead and have a look at two types. One is called as Field Programmable Gate Array, which is FPGA, and the other one is Complex Programmable Logical Device, that is nothing but CPLDs. Now, what is the difference between FPGA and CPLD? Basically, the basic difference comes in terms of logic density, that is how many number of gates are present in these types of PLDs. FPGA is considered to be a type of PLD which has a higher logic density. The latest one that we have is Xilinx Vertex, provides around 8 million system gates which are programmable. So you can see that the FPGAs have a very high logic density. Also, the performance wise, FPGA is considered to be a better performing PLD. Whereas complex programmable logical device, that is CPLDs comparatively have less logic density. Moreover, it can be around 10,000 system gates are present in CPLD, and even the performance in terms of speed, the CPLDs comparatively lags behind. But the advantage of CPLD is that we can predict the timing characteristics. So the timing characteristics is considered to be predictable in CPLDs. So this is all about PLD, and ASIC and PLD currently are being used in lot of embedded system development. There is one more core component of embedded system that is being used, also known as commercial off-the-shelf components. Don't mind my spelling. Off is OFF, off-the-shelf components, COTS, also known as COTS. These are plug-in components that can be integrated with any embedded system. You can take an example of, currently we have TCP COTS. We have a lot of off-the-shelf components that can be that are portable and integratable with any kind of embedded system. So we can use this COTS as it is. Let me take an example. If I consider a small application of embedded system like an electronic toy. So an electronic toy can have an ADC, that is analog to digital converter, which can be a COTS, or it can be an example, or it can be a commercial off-the-shelf components. There are some sensors which we get in terms of a COTS or IR detectors. These are all example of COTS that are used in an embedded system. The advantage of using COTS in an embedded system is these are easily available. It definitely cut down the development time because the components are easily available and we need not spend time in developing these components once again. So that definitely the development time reduces. This in turn reduces the time to market. Obviously, time to market in this technological advancement arenas. The time to market is very, very important. So COTS helps in reducing the time to market of any embedded system. But there is some disadvantage of COTS. Suppose if any embedded system application is being using a COTS product or a COTS component of a particular vendor, and if vendor discontinues those components, then obviously the application also has to be discontinued. So it is vendor dependent because the components that are being used in the embedded system may or may not be from the different vendors. So it's vendor dependent. That's one of the major disadvantage of COTS. So this is all about core of embedded system. Whenever a question is asked on what are the different core components of embedded system, please write in detail. Note about 5 of the core component, not 5 actually, in fact 6 of the core components. We have microprocessor, microcontroller, digital signal processor, then we have ASIC, PLDs and COTS. So this can be asked for 8 marks or 10 marks depending on that. You can vary the increase, you can vary the detailing part of the each point. So this is all about the core. Let us go ahead and have a look at one more point for this video, this part. I'll be covering another component, that is a major component that's being used in embedded system, and that is memory. Memory is considered to be a major component in the embedded system. As you know, memory is being used not only for program, that is code or instruction storage, firmware storage, as well as data storage. So memory is required. There are various types of memory. Memory classification basically is based on whether it's an on-chip memory or an off-chip memory. When I say on-chip memory, that means we have previously gone ahead and have seen the processors are the core of an embedded system. Some of the processor or controller have an inbuilt memory, that is a working memory, which is an inbuilt memory in a processor. Those kind of memories are known as on-chip memory. And off-chip memory are the memory that is there as a part of embedded system, used for various purposes of storage, but are not within the processor. So we'll see the further the slides will give you the example of off-chip memory. So basically off-chip memory is further classified into 2 parts. One is program storage memory, also known as ROM, and data storage memory known as RAM. So we will see the types of ROM and types of RAM. Memory can be asked as a separate question, a single question, wherein they can ask you what are the different types of memories that are used in embedded system, or they can ask you individually. They can ask you to write about types of ROM or SRAM, DRAM. These are the types of questions that can what is the SRAM implementation, what is DRAM implementation. So these are the individual questions that can be asked in this part. So let us, for this video, I will be covering the ROM part, and the second part of the video we will continue with the RAM part. Let us see the program storage memory, that is ROM. ROM is read-only memory. There are various classification or types of ROM. We have masked ROM, MROM, or PROM, programmable ROM, EPROM, erasable programmable ROM, and electrically erasable ROM, flash, and NVRAM. So we're going to see 6 different types of ROM in this section. So basically, program storage memory, or a ROM, is used for program storage. As name suggests, program storage, that is the code and the different instructions are being stored in this memory. So this is specifically for code storage. Let us begin with the first kind of ROM, that is masked ROM, MROM. It's a one-time programmable memory. This is known as a one-time programmable memory. Why? Because it is being one-time programmed by the manufacturer of the memory, and the information storage is done using the hardwire technology. There are basically different hardwire technology that being used to store the information. As it's a one-time programmable, and that too by the manufacturer, so generally MROM is used to store firmware codes. Embedded firmware codes are being stored in MROM. MROM has an advantage of high capacity, so that is one of the major advantage of MROM. Next we go ahead and see programmable read-only memory, or also known as PROM or OTP. It is one-time programmable memory. So one-time programmable memory, basically the difference between the masked ROM and PROM is as masked ROM is programmable by the manufacturer, whereas PROM is one-time programmable, yes, but the responsibility of programming is put forth on an end user. So here for the memory basically consists of a matrix kind of arrangement of polysilicon wires that you can consider it as a kind of a fuse. So if you want to store logic 1, then the wire is not blown, and if you want to store logic 0, then the wire has to be blown, or wire has to be fused. So this matrix arrangement is present in programmable ROM or one-time OTP kind of memory. So these are the two MROM and PROM are the two types of ROM we have seen. Let us go ahead. The previous two kind of ROM were cannot be erased, but the next two can be erased, or those are reprogrammable memories. So we have the first reprogrammable memory type known as erasable programmable ROM, or also known as EPROM. Here EPROM, basically the bit storage or the information storage is being done by charging. It has an array of FET gates, and by charging the floating FET, floating gate of an FET, we can do the bit storage. Now, as I said, these are erasable programmable ROM. So how do we erase it? So the erasing is done by putting by exposing the memory to towards UV rays for around a time period of 20 to 30 minutes. When it's kept under UV rays, the information is erased. The major disadvantage of this kind of programmable ROM or EPROM is that the erasing requires time. It's a time consuming process. As I said, it requires at least 20 to 30 minutes UV exposure to erase the information. So it's a time consuming, and also the memory board needs to be taken out of the system as and when we need to erase the information. So these are the disadvantages, but yes, the advantage is reprogrammability. So to address this problem of erasing having a time consumption, taking a time consumption and the board to be taken out, there came the next kind of memory known as electrically erasable programmable ROM, or E2PROM. It's also a reprogrammable memory. Here the erasing is done using electrical signals. That's what is the difference between an EPROM and E2PROM. So we have a latest technology coming forward in the in memories known as flash. Flash is also a variation of EPROM, electrically erasable PROM. And what it does, as you know, that the electrical erasable PROM, although it has a reprogrammability facility, but the capabilities are quite low. So by combining the reprogrammability of EPROM and the capacity of a standard ROM, they have come up with a new technology known as flash. Flash memory is basically organized in terms of sector level and the page level, and erasing can also be done in terms of sector and page wise erasing. The last kind of ROM, which is common in RAM as well as ROM, that is non-volatile RAM and VRAM. Basically, this is a very simple memory wherein a RAM along with a battery backup, so that the storage is present for a certain period of time. There is a battery backup used here. So that kind of random access memory with a battery backup is known as NVRAM. So this is all about program storage memory used in embedded system. So in the next video, we will go ahead and have a look at what are the different types of RAM that is being used, RAM memory that is being used in embedded system. So let me just give you a quick recap of what we have seen in this video. We have gone ahead and seen some of the core components of embedded system like ASIC, PLDs and COTS, and then begin with the memory, which is the major component in the embedded system. Although there are the two classification of memories, that is ROM and RAM. So today we have covered ROM, and in the next video we will cover RAM. Thank you very much.